Thanks for the opportunity to provide a brief overview of what we abbreviate as CC STAR, our Campus Cyber Infrastructure Program at NSF. I've got a few intro slides to maybe put it in a little bit of context before I go over some of the details of the program. This is a reminder of NSF's mission, which is to promote the progress of science to advance national health, prosperity, and welfare, to secure the national defense. That last piece is often forgotten, I think, but that's part of our mission statement. There's a good picture of our somewhat new building that we used to fill up pre-COVID right outside of Old Town Alexandria on Eisenhower Avenue in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. These are some numbers from, I believe, fiscal year 20. Fiscal year 21 just ended a few weeks ago, so I think there'll be an update, but this gives you an idea of the size of NSF and the kind of the volume that we work through and the breadth of impact that we have. So this was from fiscal year 2020, where the folks in that building I just showed you helped evaluate over 42,000 proposals. These are mostly peer review. That's the peer review process that NSF relies on. So that's quite a lot of panels run in fiscal year 2020 to have peer expert reviews of those. Out of that came a little over 12,000 awards, supporting over 300,000 people in the community and 1,800 NSF-funded institutions. We're a very efficient agency in having 93% of our budget go out in the form of these awards each year. And here's a little breakdown of that piece in the Computer and Information Sciences and Engineering Directorate. That's where my division sits, with several research divisions next to us. In OAC, we're more of a research infrastructure division, but we also fund some research. And there you see a picture of our assistant director, the head of SCIES, Martinosi. And an interesting note here, I won't go through all those numbers, you can see those for yourself. We did go over $1 billion, I believe, for the first time as a SCIES directorate in fiscal year 2020. But it's worth noting that SCIES funds over 85% of the federally funded academic research in the US in computer science. So the directorate plays a very important role along with all of those research programs that SCIES runs. Here is a little busy sketch. Now we're getting closer to talking about campus cyber infrastructure and that little red circle that's hiding under MRI. I'm not going to go through all of these weird acronyms. It just gives you maybe a sense of all the funding opportunities to the community in supporting research infrastructure. And Tim spoke briefly earlier. I think he's speaking again later. He's a great representative of that green circle in HPC up top, where TAC and UT Austin have some of NSF's largest investments in high-performance computing. On the higher end, you see just above the CC STAR circle, MRI. It's worth noting that that's the major research instrumentation program. I think it's maybe $75 million a year. That program funds every year. It does fund compute clusters. And some of those clusters go well over $1 million. So if your mind is oriented towards computing, campus computing funding, that's certainly an ongoing opportunity in the community. But as you'll see, CC STAR also offers an opportunity, just maybe a smaller award level in campus computing. Well, we are programmed at NSF as program officers. Whenever we give a talk, we like to mention what's out there for an open solicitation with a deadline. And here's one out of OAC that is not CC Star, but it's definitely related. And this is on the software and data capability side. This is really the main software development program that's NSF wide. It's a massive program. They just had a webinar last week, which I think might have had several hundred people participate. And so if you're interested in that, if you have scientific software development needs, this is a great program to look at. They have an open solicitation due December 8th, and you can find it online. So now let's spend some time going through the CC Star program. And what this program is represented in its 10-year history is really NSF's view of research and education data networking as a fundamental layer and underpinning of what we're calling cyber infrastructure. And CI is all of these things. It includes the people in the cyber team awards that have already been mentioned through at least one of them. It includes software, data, computing. Networking is a component of that. We like to talk of these things holistically and in integrated fashion. But really, networking is kind of the plumbing in the house. And when it doesn't work, big problems, right? But you count on it being there. So this program has made a real dent in campus network connectivity over the last 10 years. A lot of the awards have gone into what you'll see in Area 1 and previous forms of Area 2 that I'll go over in upgrading campus networks, redesigning those campus borders along the science DMZ, which has been mentioned already, all in an effort to prioritize and support the movement of scientific data end-to-end. CC Star has always emphasized a strong campus-level partnership between the researchers and teachers at these institutions and campus IT leadership. This is somewhat of a unique program at NSF where it's not at all unusual to find CIOs of institutions leading awards in this program or appearing as co-PIs. So it's not all about bigger pipes. I think Jason's talk following me will put an exclamation point on that. If only it was so easy, just plugging equipment in and things just ran at line rate. Doesn't work that way. This program definitely represents that science DMZ concept. On the right, we funded a lot of projects that have re-architected their campus border along those concepts. And with that comes some complexity, certainly, and taking on more elements to manage for the campus. But the big win is frictionless data flows for scientific data. The program has been a forcing function in the sense of the required campus CI plan, really forcing a campus to think strategically about how those networking plans fit into the broader CI strategy for the campus. And that's been a challenge. It's been a challenge for the largest institutions in the country in this program from day one. We've seen that in the CI plans that have been part of these proposals over the years, many hundreds of proposals we've gotten. So you see also on this slide a couple of layers, if you will, of the research and education network fabric. I like to call it that. On the lower left, you see really kind of an international view where a number of entities participate in, and global entities. NSF has a separate program that supports some of what you see there on that slide. And then you heard from Amy and Mary from Learn. They appear in that regional R&E network map of QUILT members interconnected with other state and regional R&E networks that forms a very important, crucial layer of the national R&E network fabric. Well, the CC Star program has been busy. It's around 370 awards now going into the new fiscal year. We just made a group of, I think, 21 awards coming out of the summer. We've got almost all states and jurisdictions covered in the US. There maybe are a couple missing. And there you see the award category breakdown. It's kind of an odd breakdown because the program has changed year over year. Some areas don't exist anymore. For example, the cyber team area that was responsible for, allowed Sweeter and the other UT Dallas cyber team award to happen. That area did not exist in the most recent solicitation, and those investments continue in OAC. They're just in a different program and maybe worded just a little differently. That's a cyber training program. But one emerging area that did not exist a few years ago that has been enormously popular is the compute area, area number 4. I'll get to that in a second. Here is the most recent solicitation. You can look this up. You can just Google NSF 21528 and you'll get a rather lengthy solicitation that covers 5 areas. And these are the 5 areas we just had just last Monday. It was actually extended to Wednesday, the second deadline for the solicitation. So the solicitation is no longer open and available for proposals. We never make guarantees on future solicitations, but CC Star is held in high regard inside NSF and NSF leadership. I think there's a very strong likelihood that you will see future solicitations in CC Star come out. I may even give you a couple of hints here as I go through here, what you might very well see continue in CC Star moving forward. The program-wide criteria have largely been unchanged, and these can be high bars, the science-driven requirement as a primary motivation. There are words in the solicitation across the areas that go into some detail about quantifying that, especially in areas 1, 2, and 4. And that can be hard to put together for the first time. The program wants to see this strong partnership between the research community, the education community on campus, and we want to see campus IT involved in these proposals. There are different ways to show that. And then there's the campus CI plan, which was already brought up. There are numerous examples off of ESNet's wonderful website. They have held those CI campus plans that some universities have donated. So you can see some different examples. There's no hard template, but the solicitation does give some guidance as to what we want to see in there. So area 1, which has really been the core of the program. These are atomic awards to individual institutions to upgrade their networks, usually to 100 gigabits per second to the nearest RNA network POP, and then on to Internet 2. The Science DMZ is normally funded for the campus under this as well. We've seen different types of proposals. We've seen proposals focus on intra-campus connectivity among buildings, for example. So you can come at this in some different ways. Jason is talking about the Engineering and Performance Operations Center after my talk. And EPIC is mentioned in this area, and I think area 2 as well, as a kind of a strong hint that you might want to engage this group of experts in what you're putting together here. And that might include the equipment choices, et cetera. But so this has also an interesting requirement in area 1. If the institution has ever received an award in area 1, you can't come back in. That's kind of to prevent institutions from using the area as an equipment refresh kind of opportunity every few years. As a result, we've seen, I think, over time, maybe fewer awards made in this area in recent years. We've seen a little bit of a drop off. And here's a look at one page off that wonderful area that ESNet has. It also includes just a ton of material, reference material, and reading up on the Science DMZ concept, the components that go into that, some of the thinking behind those components. Area 2 is somewhat new. It certainly wasn't around 10 years ago in this program. It has now emerged, I think, arguably as the highest impact area. Amy and Mary have talked about their 2 awards, and I show those later. But here you have kind of an N-way expansion of an Area 1 award, where you've got a leadership entity like Learn, can be a leadership institution as well. But a QUILT member is perfectly fine in this area to lead an award that's now connecting multiple under-resourced smaller institutions within a region. And it's got some interesting wording in there. If you dug into the details of the Learn Awards, you'd see this concept of a regional science DMZ and maybe a smaller footprint of what a classic DMZ is on an institution at some of the participating institutions. And so these are hard proposals to put together. So this is less about the number of proposals that might come into this area. I think it's a lot more about the ones that get awarded. Can't remember what we did in 2021. I think we had 3 awards. I don't have that table in this presentation, but major impact here. Hard to put together from a coordination standpoint, right? You have to get multiple institutions on board. And another recent change in Area 2 is we used to allow this without a technical solution up front. Now you have to lay all that out to put a proposal in here. But this is a great opportunity for a smaller institution that may have never gotten an NSF award before, maybe doesn't want to go into Area 1 on their own. They can team up and still get those same benefits in participating in an Area 2 proposal. So it's just a great opportunity for those smaller institutions.
Kevin, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
If my memory serves me right, Area 2 is actually a larger award. I'm sorry. Area 2 is actually a larger award amount than Area 1. Is that still correct?
That's correct. Area 1, 100,000. Area 2 now can go up to $1 million. But you must have multiple institutions participating. And it must be led by a leadership entity, which is somewhat self-declarative, right?
Right. So the value is not diluted just because people are coming together. It's still extremely valuable and very impactful.
Well diluted, Drew. Yeah, not at all. And I view it as a very attractive outlet for institutions that, again, may see that as just a more effective path at getting to where they want to go with gigabit connectivity and full participation in the R&E network fabric in the US moving forward. They don't have to put in their own proposal to participate through this program. Area 3, and I'm a little cognizant of time here. I see it's 20 after, so I'll speed up a little bit. This is really, you could view this as an applied network research area. In fact, it's my colleague in our sister division of network research, CNS, Deep Medi, that leads this area. This has been a part of the program from day one as well. It offers an opportunity for campuses to actually kind of go beyond standard best practices and to explore new and innovative capabilities on a campus. The program has funded a lot of award activities at the campus level, experimentally deploying for the first time new software-defined networking capabilities. That's a good example of a lot of awards coming out of this area over the years. Now you see some text in this area that is pointing towards leverage of an emerging national scale network research testbed called Fabric. Members in the network research community might find this a very attractive way, I think, to transition some of their network research onto maybe a new platform on their own campus in an experimental and integrative approach. Area 4 has been tremendously popular. We've gotten a huge response on this area just in the last couple of years. I think this was the third year we had this area that gives campuses an opportunity for a campus compute cluster. And there are a couple of unique elements in here. And one of them is at the bottom, where there's a requirement to commit to sharing a minimum of 20% of that cluster that you're asking NSF to fund outside of the campus. And I've got a slide on that in a moment. But you know, the rest of the requirements in here do mirror what you see in Area 1 and Area 2 for science-driven, compelling needs for meeting this cluster. And how that maps into this area, as you'll read in Area 4, is the challenge that we see in the proposals that come into this area is mapping those science drivers to what you're asking for in detail. If you're proposing a configuration, say with all GPUs, maybe high-end GPUs, are the science drivers, are the computing codes, the workloads that you're describing in the proposal, do they make a good match for those high-end GPUs that you're proposing in the proposal? Or if it's an all CPU kind of general purpose cluster, you know, again, do your science drivers in the table, you know, are they a good match for what you're configuring? And that's where the expert panel comes in. That's part of their evaluation. So there's wording in there that, but that's one of the challenges in this area to get a successful proposal in. The area mentions Open Science Grid as a platform for making your 20% of your cycles available. So there's this theme of sharing resources across campuses that's loud and clear in this area. You have to buy into that to put a proposal into Area 4. You do not have to choose Open Science Grid. In fact, I saw on the participant list and the virtual business cards, John Graham is online, and he's got his PRP hat on. And that is another national distributed compute fabric that is very powerful, very flexible, and has been chosen in some of the awards. Now, all the awards to date in Area 4 have chosen either Open Science Grid or PRP/NRP. And both projects are more than happy to talk to you and help you understand what that means. And so for more information on OSG, I don't have the URL there, I don't think, but it's not hard to find their web pages devoted to CC Star. Finally, Area 5. This BRICCS workshop, I think, was funded under the larger area. This is the planning area. The smaller planning grants, we would expect eventually an Area 1, 2, or 4 proposal to probably come out of that. And I think BRICCS is a great example of what we were after in the larger CI research alignment proposals that have a little more money behind them, probably multi-institutional and more comprehensive in CI planning and starting a community dialogue amongst possibly a group of institutions. So BRICCS is a great example of that. Again, the deadlines have passed. You'll have to wait for the next one to come out. I can't give you a date on that, even if I had one. For those that have put proposals into the most recent deadline, or just a reminder that we do target a 6-month dwell time for proposals. And it's safe to say that more CC Star solicitations, more funding opportunities are planned. We might see some interesting things coming out in the months ahead under CC Star, potentially maybe some new directions. But that should not be a surprise. The solicitation does change year over year. This is a wonderful community. I mean, it's not just a CC Star community. It's really the cyber infrastructure community writ large. Really is a wonderful community. The R&E network community is part of that. They've represented this for for decades, very highly collaborative. You'll see that come through in the next talk. There are people on here from some of these institutions. There are a couple from Internet too. They've got a whole host of services and really cool activities, some of which are NSF funded, some of which are not, that are long running, that are other resources and activities to tap into, and you've already heard from Learn. There is this MinorityServing Cyber Infrastructure Consortium. Just very quickly, this just got turned on late in the fiscal year, so it's just getting underway. Email Anna Hunsiger. She is the principal investigator. She's the PI at Internet 2. For this, I think this will be a very big deal in helping to foster, generate campus CI discussions across MSIs, HBCUs in particular, over the next several years. And it's a center of excellence pilot. So I think we'll be hearing more about that. But if that is something that your institution is interested in, please contact me. And then finally, I did put this together yesterday. I apologize if I missed something, because I did this kind of manually. I think this is the set of CC Star Awards in Texas. And now I don't have to go over the two Learn Awards. I was going to point those out. And we covered those and the institutions that are involved with those two. You know, the one thing I'll point out here is if you look through these, you see quite an interesting spread, and I think it's reflective of the program overall, right? You see some planning activities going on. You see campus network awards. You see these regional networking, multi-campus awards. You see a couple of compute awards, and you see also kind of a spread of institutions just in Texas that are both large and small. So hopefully that gives you a good flavor of CC Star, and I'm out of time. Thank you for giving me a chance to describe the program.